Girls with an awkward or introverted boyfriend or husband, how did he approach you? Story 1. I had a girl in high school. We were friends and she flirted with me. She was on the pom squad and I was on the basketball team. And she'd come to games to cheer me on even when they weren't dancing. She'd leave notes on my windscreen after school or after games. I asked her to prom and she said yes. At prom I asked her out and she said yes. The next day, she had her friend tell me she just said yes because she didn't want to make a scene and didn't actually want to date me. It is a super messed up ability to figure out if a woman is actually interested in me. Story 2. My wife and I met in high school and worked at the same place. Eventually, we both started getting feelings for each other, but I was not going to make a move after my first attempt at approaching someone who I thought had feelings for me. She made all the moves and we've been together since. Just past 10 years of dating, being engaged or married a couple of months ago. Well, not all the moves, but I did propose. Story 3. We had some friends in common and started talking because of them. I could tell he was into me because he wanted to be around me all the time, and I would always catch him staring. I had to stay in school until later some days, and he would always stay with me even though he could have just gone home. We started talking more and more during that time we had alone and found out we had so many things in common. He got a lot more comfortable around me, so he would make jokes, put his arm around me, etc. A couple months later, we were at a party and he said he wanted to talk. So we went to a more private place surrounded by these gorgeous roses. He was shaking and his heart was beating so fast before he told me he liked me and wanted to be with me. Then we kissed for the first time and have been together for 4 years now. Story 4. I was sitting on the train at the back of the carriage when I saw her come in. She looked as if she was going to sit at the front. Almost all the seats were empty. But I saw her look up the back and she appeared to change her mind. She walked all the way down the carriage and then sat in the seat in front of mine. At this point, I was wondering what I should do. I normally don't talk to anyone, but there were only about 5 people in the carriage and she'd walked past 10 empty seats to sit in the one in front of me. While I was still wondering whether I should talk to her or not, she turned around and started talking to me. We've been married for about 12 years now. Story 5. I met him through my sister and she told me he lives nearby, so I randomly texted him. It was close to midnight once and I asked him if he would want to watch a movie with me. And surprising enough, he was at my door like 5 minutes later. We watched Totoro and he stayed until 4 a.m. That's how we became friends. In school, we often spend time together and he kind of started to make his first moves. He wasn't flirting though. He just randomly grabbed my hand and sat very close to me often. This doesn't sound too nerdy, but just let me tell you. The first time I was at his place, he showed me his pocket watch collection and his huge Minecraft world, in which he rebuilt several Thai and German buildings, many of them having to do with World War II, the GDR, and his homeland. I don't think that's how you usually flirt with girls, especially at 17, but I guess it worked, and I love him very dearly. Story 6. I went to a party that I didn't want to go to be a wingman for my friend. The girl he was trying to get with had a best friend who was the life of the party and the center of attention, and I wanted nothing to do with her. I was chilling in the kitchen with other introverts, and this girl kept asking me to hold her drink while she did something. There was literally no other conversation than, "Hold my drink." I kept putting it on the counter, trying to ignore her, till she finally grabbed my hand and asked me to come outside with her. I did, and as soon as we went outside, we saw her roommate passed out in the snow. I carried her roommate back to her apartment across the way, tucked them both in for the night, and left. She got my number from her friend and texted me the next morning. Now, we're 5 years and 2 kids later. Story 7. I accidentally told someone at the summer camp where we worked that I had a crush on her. Of course, the person I told was a loudmouth, so I figured I would get to her and tell her first. It was amazing the level to which my anxiety subsided for fear of her finding out from someone else after my words were all twisted up and misconstrued. To my surprise, she was obviously and immediately interested, even though we had never even spoken before that. She thought it was cute that I needed to tell her myself and make sure that I told her the right way, with an explanation of what happened. She interrupted me while I was explaining and said, "Yes, I get it. We're going out now." Wow. She did happen to hear from 2 other people later that day that I was telling everyone how much I liked her, which wasn't the case at all. She just told them, "Yep, I know. We're going on a date tonight." It still gives me butterflies. We've been together for 10 years and married for 5. The moral of the story is, put aside shyness. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Be honest and be true to yourself. Story 8. My best friend invited me to a concert and told me last minute he was bringing this chick and not to blow it for him. So I go into wingman mode and just act like myself because I don't have to impress her, and I make some small talk here and there. Apparently, she didn't know he was into her and asked him for my number since she thought I was cute. She was supposed to move across the country in a week, so it was supposed to be a fun fling. But she came back 2 weeks later because she hated it, and we've been together for 8 years. My best friend was cool about it, and we all hang out together when we can. Story 9. We met at an engineering summer camp. They jammed us all into a dorm lobby for orientation. I was one of the last to enter the room and sat down on the only available couch space, which was next to him. He was struck with love at first sight. We exchanged a few brief sentences, and then they turned on a movie, and I fell asleep on his shoulder. I've fallen asleep on other random people's shoulders at other times of my life. I just fall asleep easily. I woke up deeply embarrassed and scurried off to my room. The next day, we naturally gravitated towards each other because we didn't know anybody else, and we hit it off from there. Being at camp made us both available for dating in a way that we wouldn't have been otherwise. The camp structure encouraged and forced socialization, and he was separated from his computer, just as I was separated from most of my pastimes as well. If we'd gone to high school together, I don't think we would have started dating. Anyway, now we're coming up on our 11th wedding anniversary. We've worked out a pretty good system for mostly letting him be his deeply introverted self without making me feel too isolated. Story 10. I met my now husband at a mutual friend's housewarming party one night. I decided to leave and sneak away from the place to go home out of sheer boredom. So I told the host that I was going to Subway to grab food, or they'd have tried to make me stay. Keep in mind, this was at about 10:30 p.m. in a not-so-great area of town while I walked down the dark street to get to my bus stop. Now, there was a quiet guy at the party, the host guy's best friend. He decided, while quite drunk, that it would be a fantastic idea to run after me for a few blocks at full speed to walk me safely to Subway because he was hungry too. So here I am being followed/chased by some random drunk guy from the party, and I'm getting ready to punch him if I have to, when he catches up and asks to tag along. We got to Subway, got food, and he walked me back to the party I wanted to leave, where we chilled in the kitchen for hours talking video games, anime, and other crap. We traded emails because he wanted to give me some anime downloads so we could discuss series further. I still tell him that he's damn lucky I managed to decipher his terrible writing on that paper. After that, he would bus all the way from across the city just to pick me up from work almost daily and walk me home for 10 minutes. We were watching anime hell when he first kissed me like a sudden spaz and asked, "Are you happy now?" Come to think of it, he still never actually asked me out. We don't even know what would be considered our first date, really. It's nearly been 11 years now, though, plus a kid. I wouldn't change one awkward thing, even if he did freak the shit out of me at first. We're also both still terrible in social situations, but with each other, our awkwardness sort of cancels each other out. Sometimes.